Ghana just took a massive leap forward in its oil and gas sector, and it could change the game for the country's economy, energy security, and even its global standing. The Ministry of Energy and Green Transition just announced the Declaration of Commerciality for the Eban-Akoma oil and gas discoveries, confirming that these reserves are not just viable, but profitable. What does this mean for Ghana? Who stands to benefit? And could this be the spark that finally unlocks the country's full energy potential? Before we dive in, make sure you're subscribed with notifications on. This is a major development, and we'll be covering its ripple effects in future videos. Now, let's get into it. On July 3rd, 2025, Ghana's Ministry of Energy and Green Transition made a historic announcement. The joint venture behind Cape 3 Points Block 4 had officially submitted a Declaration of Commerciality for the Eban-Akoma oil and gas finds. This isn't just bureaucratic red tape. It's the critical green light that transitions these discoveries from exploration to full-scale development. It means that after years of tests, appraisals, and feasibility studies, experts have concluded that extracting these resources isn't just possible, it's financially worthwhile. Let's break this down. The Eban-1X and Akoma-1X sites lie in the Cape 3 Points Block 4, about 60 kilometers off Ghana's western coast. Eban is primarily an oil discovery, while Akoma holds a mix of natural gas and condensate, a light hydrocarbon liquid often used for fuel and petrochemicals. These reserves were first identified between 2019 and 2021, but confirming their commercial viability required years of seismic testing, drilling, and economic modelling. Now, the data is in, and the verdict is clear: these fields are ready for development. The joint venture driving this project is a powerhouse lineup. Leading the operation is Eni Ghana Exploration and Production, the local subsidiary of Italian energy giant Eni, which has decades of experience in offshore drilling. Then there's Vitol Upstream Tano, backed by the Vitol Group, the world's largest independent energy trader, with a vast network for distributing oil and gas globally. On the Ghanaian side, Woodfields Upstream brings homegrown expertise, while GNPC Explorco, the commercial arm of Ghana's national oil company, ensures the state has skin in the game. Overseeing it all are the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, GNPC, and the Petroleum Commission, which provide regulatory oversight to align the project with national interests. What does this mean in practical terms? A declaration of commerciality is like a vote of confidence. It tells investors, yes, there's enough oil and gas here to justify the billions needed to extract it. That means infrastructure like offshore platforms, pipelines stretching across the seabed, processing facilities to separate oil, gas, and condensate, and eventually tankers loading crude for export or pipelines feeding gas into Ghana's energy grid. Energy Minister John Abdullahi Jinapor hailed this as a transformative moment for Ghana's energy sector. He emphasised that this isn't just about revenue, it's about energy security, job creation, and industrial growth. The government's vision is to use these resources to power Ghana's future, both literally and economically. But let's talk about what happens next. With commerciality declared, the joint venture must now draft a plan of development, a comprehensive blueprint detailing how they'll extract these resources efficiently, responsibly, and profitably. This plan will outline everything from drilling techniques to environmental safeguards, revenue sharing models, and crucially, how Ghanaians will benefit. Local content is a major focus. Ghana's petroleum regulations require that oil companies prioritize Ghanaian workers, businesses, and services at every stage, from engineering and construction to catering and security. The goal is to ensure that the wealth generated by these resources stays in Ghana, building skills and businesses that outlast the oil boom. The ministry has pledged strict oversight to enforce these rules, learning from past projects where local participation sometimes fell short. Yet, challenges loom. First, timing. History shows that moving from declaration to first oil can take years, sometimes delayed by financing hurdles, environmental assessments, or political shifts. Second, the global energy landscape is changing. With the world pushing toward renewables, can Ghana balance oil and gas development with its climate commitments? Minister Jinapor insists the answer is yes. The green transition in the ministry's name isn't just for show. It reflects a strategy to use oil and gas revenues to fund renewable energy projects, ensuring Ghana's long-term sustainability. Now, let's zoom out. What does all this mean for everyday Ghanaians? First and foremost, jobs. Developing these fields will require thousands of workers. Engineers to design the platforms, divers to install pipelines, technicians to maintain equipment, and support staff to keep operations running. If local content policies are enforced, these jobs could lift countless families into the middle class. Then there's revenue. Oil and gas exports could bring billions into Ghana's coffers through royalties, taxes, and state-owned GNPC's share of profits. If managed transparently, this money could transform infrastructure, building roads, schools and hospitals, or pay down national debt, easing fiscal pressures, but that's a big if. Ghana's history with oil revenue has been mixed. While the Jubilee field boosted GDP growth, critics argue too little reached ordinary citizens. This time, the government promises things will be different, but only time will tell. Energy security is another critical angle. Ghana still relies on gas imports from Nigeria via the West African gas pipeline, and power cuts, Dumsor, remain a frustrating reality. Akoma's gas reserves could change that, providing a domestic source to fuel power plants, stabilise the grid, and potentially lower electricity costs. For factories and businesses, reliable energy could be a game changer, making Ghana more competitive in industries like manufacturing and agro-processing. Beyond economics, this discovery could reshape Ghana's geopolitical clout. With Nigeria's oil sector plagued by theft and inefficiency, and Angola's production declining, Ghana has a chance to position itself as West Africa's energy leader. If it manages these resources wisely, prioritising transparency, local benefit, and sustainable growth, it could set a new standard for African resource development. But let's not sugarcoat the risks. Oil prices are volatile. A sudden crash could shrink expected revenues. Global demand may peak in the coming decades as renewables advance, and without strong governance, oil wealth can fuel corruption instead of development. The real test won't be how much oil Ghana pumps, but how it uses the proceeds to diversify the economy and prepare for a post-oil future. For the average Ghanaian, the bottom line is simple. Will this make my life better? Will it mean more jobs in my community, more reliable electricity, better schools for my kids? These are the questions leaders must answer, not with words, but with results. The Declaration of Commerciality for Eban-Akoma is a milestone, but the journey is just beginning. The potential is enormous, but so are the stakes. Ghana's leaders, GNPC, and the joint venture partners now face the hard work of turning promise into progress. For investors, yes, but most importantly, for the people of Ghana. So what do you think? Can Ghana's oil sector deliver this time, or will history repeat itself? Drop a comment below. If you found this breakdown useful, hit like, share it with someone who cares about Africa's economic future, and subscribe for more in-depth analysis. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.